Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kubernetes for Humans podcast. Today, we have a special episode because we have two different guests, Juliano, Marcelo. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I can start. I'm Juliano Martins. I am a senior tech manager at Mercado Libre, the biggest fintech and marketplace in Latin America. I am on a charge of our platform team. So we use it to play a lot with Kubernetes stuff here.
So hello everyone, I'm Marcelo, and I'm part of the cloud and platform team as a software expert. And so nowadays I'm working at the cloud platform team, but building a platform based on Kubernetes. So as Juliano said, we play a lot with Kubernetes here.
Okay, sounds cool. Before we jump into how you can currently utilizing Kubernetes, I'll be happy if both of you can give a quick introduction of what led you to computer science to begin with, and what led you Kubernetes to continue. When was your first encounter and why? Right, you didn't born with Kubernetes. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Well, I have started with computer science in 95, more or less. I was younger. I am not so old. Mainly because I use it to watch movies related with technology like Terminator, Star Wars, and this kind of stuff. And so it was something very natural to start to work with technology. So I saw Linux born, Java born, and so I feel very happy because I saw many technologies born and dying some. And by the end, I am a really enthusiast about cloud technologies that we know that it's not a silver bullet, like Kubernetes that we also know that it's not a silver bullet. But in this road that I walked through, since I have started with Clipper, COBOL, then Visual Basic, Delphi, and then Java and cloud technologies, I understood that it's very important to learn the basics, the basic stuff. And this I bring to me till today, and this helped me to guide a study here at Mercado Libre, going to the end of the history, where we choose to go to Kubernetes because we have some history to tell you in the next question. But it's an interesting question about why we moved to Kubernetes. But before this, let's Marcelo present herself in more details.
So in my case, I started around 2007, if I can remember. The main reason to start with computer science, I think, is because I am very curious about technology and electronic and this kind of thing, This kind of stuff is something that makes me a little curious to discover how the things can work and things like that, no? So I started studying and working with IT. So I've been working with Java and some projects for banks and marketplace in Brazil. And the past year, so I have worked with as an architect. And so since the past company, I was working with Kubernetes because we are in a movement to breaking a monolith into microservices. And we chose it, in that time, we chose Kubernetes for this journey. And so after I started on Mercado Libre, so I'm here for maybe 2 years, I think. And so because of my best experience, and so I've been invited to join to Mercado Libre to be part of the cloud and platform team. And so, as Juliano said, so we are working today with this contest involving Kubernetes and this kind of stuff related to cloud, and nowadays building this internal platform that we call internally Fury.
Okay, sounds interesting. So, I think you guys need to give some context. I'll be completely honest. I never heard about, I hope it's not insulting, right? But I didn't know the company because it wasn't too much in South America. So if you can give context, the company is huge, right? So just give the numbers of how many developers maybe and how many SRE DevOps platform people join the company. And as a second follow-up question, when you start talking a bit about your migration to Kubernetes, I'll be happy to hear who pushed it? Like in a company so big, this is like something huge, right? Like it's not like you woke up one morning and said, we should migrate to Kubernetes. So if you can give like a glimpse on how and why did you choose Kubernetes and where are you before that? So yeah.
Perfect. So a little context about Mercado Libre. You have reason in don't know Mercado Libre because we are the biggest in Latin America. So as I told, we are the biggest marketplace in fintech. We have something like 15,000 employees just in IT. Talking about another areas, we have more than 50,000 in distribution centers, logistics, and this kind of thing. And some numbers that people like to listen, we have some average of 19,000 deployments per day. We have 26,000 microservices. We have 3 cloud providers. We are multi-cloud, multi-region, and what else? Well, something interesting is that from this population of 15,000 people in IT, more or less 10 to 15% work with us in the cloud and platform team. The another people work directly with the products. For example, people that works with fintech stuff. So they are divided in squads. People who works with QR code payment, people who works with crypto stuff, and people who works at platform team are also divided in squads. For example, people who works with the object storage service, people who works with workload or computing stuff, that we are of these people, for example, and that's it. So we have divided our IT people in people who works for platform and people who works on top of platform. And usually the people who works on top of platform develop products to our final users. And we, people from platform, are developers that develop solution to another developers. So we have created our platform that helps people to develop. But I told the word platform. Marcelo told Fury some time ago, and I really believe that you need this context. So I give you some numbers. Later, Marcelo can share more numbers about Kubernetes stuff that you will really enjoy. But Mercado Libre was founded on the final of 90s, 99, if my memory don't fail. And at that time, we have a monolith written in Java, and we started to scale, and a lot of people working in the same code base, problems, we lose time to market. And something like in 2010, we started to migrate to microservices infrastructure, to microservices. At the beginning, this was really good. And it's a journey. It's not from the night to the day. We started to break the monolith in another monolith, and then in another monolith. At some time, we reached some size that we really can call, this is a microservice. But it was a long journey also. And maybe we can talk more about this in another opportunity. But this worked well. Developers started to have a lot of freedom. We gained some very good time to market. But we created something like the Netflix Dev Star. The relation with the microservices started to be very complicated. So we generate several issues with security, compliance, costs.
Yeah. I'll just stop you for a second, just for you're doing the hands movement that like try to describe right, like the Death Star. Like for anyone who don't know, like Netflix is famous around their like microservice approach, and this approach on one hand it gives a lot of freedom, right? Because everyone can do whatever he wants. Like you want to write in Perl, in PHP, I don't know, like Elixir, like you can do it, no one cares on one hand, and it gives a lot of freedom to developers. On the other hand, there is the question of like maintainability, knowledge sharing, like fault tolerance and so on. So like Netflix, I will say, are quite rare in the fact that they also have like a very, very like very strong tech team, right? That somehow support all of this. And even them, they are like they are like super famous in that. I think they are suffering quite a lot from that. So just to give context, like Netflix really, I think, pushed microservice, right? Like their approach, their like empowerment and so on. But most companies are not Netflix. Maybe you guys are Netflix, right? Like in the amount of resources that you have and so on, because you guys are also huge. But yeah, I just wanted to give everyone like the proper context. Like when I first saw like the Netflix like Dead Star, like I don't know, like 7 years ago, it was like something like that. I was like, yeah, like no way this is fault tolerance, low latency. I don't know, like system. Like you can't build it. Like I know enough about systems. But yeah, sorry. So I stopped you just to give relevant context for everyone, and like go on. So you are there, right? Like you are in the way, like in the phase of giving a lot of power to everyone, and yeah, and then yeah, go.
Sure. And this created a lot of problems with governance. And we know developer likes to develop a lot of many times we forgot that we are in a biggest context. We are in a company that need to have compliance rules to follow, image risks and several things that as developers we forgot. So in 2015, more or less, we started to build our platform to put our things in order. And by then, what is this platform? First, the name Fury. Fury, it's a platform as a service we have created internally. And basically, it consists in infrastructure, builds, deployment, logs, metrics, and services that let developers to manage their microservices. So we started to create features in this platform and motivate developers to migrate their microservices to this platform. And again, we started 7 to 8 years ago, and it was not from the night to the day, but we started to move these microservices to a more compliance environment. After this, now a developer who want to create a microservice, Mercado Libre, for example, need to choose from a subset of technologies that we provide. The platform takes care on tags, upgrades, and we have centralized CI/CD where we inspect the code for simple things, for example, code smells, master class. But we also search for vulnerabilities, libraries that are not compliance, for example. But now we started to talk about Kubernetes, okay? Because one of the things that we have created at our platform was the compute engine, right? And what is this compute engine? It is what runs the developer's microservices by the end, right? And when we started, 2015 more or less, Kubernetes are very young, and we went to Google, we talked with Kubernetes creators, and Kubernetes are not ready to handle with the number of instances that we already have at the time. And also, at this time, we already have the mindset to be multi-cloud, multi-region. So we created our compute engine on top of AWS EC2 and GCP. I always forgot the compute name of GCP. Sorry.
It's compute.
GCP compute. Oh, perfect. So at the end, what is a microservice at that time? It's an instance in a cloud that runs the developer microservice with several sidecars that represents Fury components. For example, the sidecar that handles with traffic stuff, authorization and authentication, the sidecars that handles with logs and audit, for example. And then this works very well because we have developed our traffic layer, our engine that handles with where the workload will be, the communication between the microservices. But as you are thinking, I told one machine, one microservice. This is not the case. And then 3 years ago, we started to evaluate this, and we started to write to create several proofs of concept, to write several RFCs. We evaluate Kubernetes, we evaluate Nomad from HashiCorp, and several other services. And we spent more or less 1 year in this research, and we decided to go to Kubernetes. And why?
Did you publish something? Is there like something also to read so I'll be happy to hear your explanation. 1 year of research, like is there something written as well?
Yeah. No, but we really want to publish something. We are trying to collaborate with platform engineering community, and we are about to write something about this journey. And we really believe that it's something that we can present at a KubeCon, for example.
Okay, sorry, I stopped you. So like after a year, right? Like so again, like just to stop for a second. So you built your own platform. I think like this sort of orchestrator, and I think like this is a very like common pattern before Kubernetes. Everyone, I don't know, like maybe Chef, maybe Ansible, maybe something else that you guys use, but it was like a very common pattern and some sidecars. I'll be honest, I did the same, and I think like everyone who worked in a big company 6-7 years ago, Kubernetes wasn't mature enough, and you needed something else. Like eBay had their own, like I worked at eBay back then, had their own like system. To be honest, I'm not sure if even now they're like 100% in Kubernetes. Maybe I need to check, but it was like a common pattern. And then you understand like this is not like scalable, and you have your own issues, and you were doing like a 1 year evaluation phase. So yeah, like super interesting. Do tell about the evaluation and what did you check and what did you found out?
Basically, the motivation to go to Kubernetes, it's that at that time we have more or less 20,000 microservices, and as I told, instance in theory it's machine, EC2 or GCP compute that have several Fury components. So when we launch this another engine based on Kubernetes, we need to provide compatibility. The way that we can move our sidecars that already exist in this world, talking about machines, EC2, etc., are either to move to Kubernetes and keep compatibility. So this was the main driver that make us decide to go to Kubernetes. The another one is to avoid lock-in also. This is important. We evaluated some services from our cloud partners, but building our own compute engine based on Kubernetes allow us to keep the different worlds working together in a transparent way to our developers. So today, if a developer have what we call traditional scope, what runs on top of EC2, and we call serverless scope, what runs on top of Kubernetes. So if we move from one to another, it's transferring to the user. Another solutions with Nomad or anything else, we will need a lot of more work to keep this compatibility. And this is what we really do not want. And I believe that this was the main drivers of the decision. And just to give you a number, today we have something like 66% of our microservices running at our serverless scopes. We still didn't migrate everything that we have to this new Coop engine built on top of Kubernetes. Now, I don't know if Marcelo want to add something here, but I am manipulating the
No problem. But yeah, so I think Juliano says a lot about the history, how we create the platform, no? But I think the one important thing is, especially related to Kubernetes, is because 3 years ago, we identified some points that could be better in our platform, especially, for example, when you look at job scope, that we have, for example, a test that runs based on Chrome, but suppose, for example, a test that run one time per day. So in the older platform, so the machine starts up and running 24/7. So this is one of the thing that we look and we said, so we have an opportunity here. So this is one of the starting point that we look on the older platform and you see, oh, we can implement something better here. So was the first thing that we created on Kubernetes. Our job scopes migrate into Kubernetes, and we create an entire platform which we're able to execute this task, But after some seconds, the infrastructure was clean up, and so we have resource for each one other instance, This way, we could share instances, for example, one per one in the older platform. Nowadays, we can share a more bigger VM, but we can use a lot of workloads running on the same machine. So in order to manage workloads, for example, for us, it was nowadays it's very easy because we compare it to the older platform, especially because nowadays you can share a VM, for example. This was one of the first thing. And talking a little bit more about how we choose Kubernetes, it's because since Fury was built for Mercado Libre, we have a lot of things developed internally, and to adapt some external things, we need to customize things. In this point, Kubernetes was the main platform and that provides this kind of customization, because since we need to integrate with a lot of components that existed before, so we had to create a lot of Kubernetes controllers to propagate events, for example, to our control plane, which is an internal service mesh that we have created here. So, for example, every pod that is spin up on Kubernetes, it needs to be registered on our control plane. So for this, we need to create a lot of components to listen to Kubernetes events and publish to maintain things synchronized, And so that was some challenge that we had on the beginning. And we have tried other platforms like ECS or some others. And since we need to avoid locking and also customize a lot of components, to create a lot of integration, in this point, Kubernetes was the main platform that was compatible with everything that we have. So this is one of the main reasons that we choose Kubernetes.
Okay, I think it makes a lot of sense. But now walk me into a bit maybe like the technical details or like the unpleasant truth. Like, so you want to migrate to Kubernetes, and to this day, right? Like a migration process for big companies, it's like a 10-year project or something like that, right? Or it can be like at least a couple of years. What was like, give me like one big challenge that you faced when doing the migration? It might be technical or it might be cultural. Maybe people said, I don't trust Kubernetes or I don't want to learn a new system. So walk me through like this, like one challenge that you had.
Talking specifically about Kubernetes, about Mercado Libre, I think the challenge was keeping compatibility and maybe trying the things be transparently to developers. One of the things that was a little bit easier for us is because even our older systems, they are using that was in Fury, they are containerized app. Even they running on the older platform, they are built on containers. So that was the thing that for us was a little bit easier to move to Kubernetes, no? But talking about a company that has some older systems, for example, I think the main challenge here is trying to containerize the things, because usually people have some big servers, like, I don't know, example, WebLogic servers or something like that. Suppose, for example, some system created based on Java EE, for example, in 2005, for example. Suppose that it's some big systems, it's difficult very big monolith. And I think this is the main challenge that maybe companies can face when they try to move to Kubernetes, especially because they need to containerize big systems, Maybe sometimes it's need to breaking things in order to have more smaller apps to facilitate this migration. I think related to culture, I think maybe depend on how company handle that, because in our case, we could do that in a transparent way for the developers. But I think in the main company, the most of companies, sorry, I don't think it could be something totally transparent, In our case, it was a little easier because we have already using container in our apps. But I think the main challenge here is trying to containerize it, some big systems, especially built on that use some big web servers and things like that, That's the main point in my opinion.
Okay.
You
I
know,
think.
one
Yeah.
one thing, one thing just to be clear, you asked about some developer resistance or challenge. At the end, developers works with products here do not touch the cloud or the engine itself. It's very transparent. Fury, it's a self-service platform where people just with one clicks it creates the compute stuff, the service stuff that a developer needs, and then developer will interact with this stuff with APIs, SDKs, etc. So we don't worry about this because it's very transparent. But I remember that we have some problems here to managing costs, and we evaluated cube cost, for example, in another project, and I know that for the numbers that we have to support in terms of pods workloads, cube cost started to generate some problems with latency or lose communication. And we also didn't share these numbers, the numbers of nodes that we have, and maybe some problems with that we have solved with Carpenter, for example. Maybe it's a good idea to Marcelo share.
Marcelo, you want to share?
No, sorry. About Carpenter, Marcelo, though, maybe it's a good history to talk about our journey, our problems. If you have the context. If not, we can cut this in the recording.
No, it's because basically we started with cluster autoscaler, no? But nowadays we have some meetings with AWS teams, So the AWS create the Carpenter, which is a more powerful tool to scale Kubernetes, so we can take advantage of more mixed instance, taking more advantage about the resources available on cloud. So this way we can save a lot of money because by using spots, reserved instances, things like that. So in this context, for example, Carpenter was a great tool for us. It's because nowadays we are of the main clients of AWS in Latin America, and we have a dedicated team, which work together with us because since we have a lot of problems and we need to solve, also we need some help from AWS team. And in this case, for example, is one of the things they says, oh, we create a tool here more specialized for AWS, and we can take a lot of advantage using it instead of cluster autoscaler, for example. This was one of the reasons that we started using Carpenter for solve some problems related to how we can have a mixed environment, taking advantage of all of the resources available in order to save money, And this is of the main reasons that we adopted Carpenter here.
Okay, sounds cool. So we don't have a lot of time. We are even a bit behind schedule. So if both of you can give me one quick prediction, what is going to happen in our landscape, the Kubernetes landscape 3 years from now? Shoot.
Marcelo?
Juliano.
I'm thinking because I really didn't think about this prediction. Well, I am really interested in platform engineering stuff right now. So we are exploring how these ecosystems based on platform engineering can integrate them with Kubernetes stuff. Because
Mhm.
mainly when we talk about Kubernetes, we are talking about people who like to be the DevOps from the organization, people who like to perform some setup, to explore more, and then create their applications. But when we merge this with the platform engineering stuff and started to talk about internal developer platforms, many times we take this responsibility from the developer teams.
Yeah.
And even because of this, we saw some news telling DevOps are dying. And I don't agree with this, but people want to sell news and generate a discussion. But I am very interested to understand how we will be able to integrate this Kubernetes handling and managing inside our platforms and define the proper level of abstraction that developers will have at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And I'm very interested in this challenge. Then, not very technical here. It's more about culture.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, Marcelo. Any prediction that you want to give?
I don't know. Maybe nowadays implementing Kubernetes is also a little complex, you know. The prediction that I have is maybe in some years from now, maybe the things can be more simple, you know. Even the platform has so many resources, but maybe the way that we use to administrate it could be more easier, you know. If it's to facilitate other companies, for example, to adopt Kubernetes without any fear, no? Because
Mhm.
nowadays I think most of company looks Kubernetes, but when they look the complexity and the amount of people prepared to handle the problems related with Kubernetes, and they decide to not adopt because they have some fear about the how they will support this, how the problems they can face, and even AKS or, for example, GKE, for example, can have us a lot of power, no, in order to not worry about some problems because it's some administrative solutions, you know, but maybe having something more simple, I think it could be very easy if you can look at how Kubernetes can be in 3 years, for example.
Yeah.
But I believe that the power of Kubernetes is something very interesting, especially for companies nowadays, which is starting, you know, that with looks for containers and things like that. And I think in 3 years, maybe there will be a lot of companies taking advantage of Kubernetes, especially for the portability that you have. If you would like to run in your house, you can. If you would like to run on cloud A or cloud B, so every cloud has support to Kubernetes, and I think that's one of greatest thing, you know. And I think in Mercado Libre, we want to migrate 100% of our workloads to Kubernetes. As Juliano said, nowadays we have 56% running on our environment, but we'd like to migrate 100% of the everything that we consider which is migrated, you know, because I have some stuff that it's impossible to migrate because of some, I don't know, for example, some proprietary software, something like that, you know, that is not able to run on Kubernetes. But everything that we think it's possible to run on Kubernetes, we have a goal to migrate everything in the next years, you know. This is something that we are working hard to migrate and taking advantage of everything that Kubernetes can offer for us in order to save money, make better use of resources available on cloud, you know. That's the thing, I think.
Okay. Sounds
Can
cool.
I give can I give another
Yeah,
answer
sure you
here,
can. Sure you
so
can.
you can cut the previous answer?
No, all good, all good. Juliano.
Okay. One 2, 3. Well, I believe that adoption will continue to increase, and the frustration will continue to increase because several people are moving to Kubernetes because it's fun, because it's a buzzword. And in many cases, you really don't need this. In many cases, you just need a virtual machine, and that's okay. And developers love to add a lot of complexity when we don't need the complexity. And two other things, I really want to see more about serverless on top of Kubernetes.
Hmm.
For example, I am
There's-
very
Right, and like there are a couple of like open FAS that are trying to fill in this gap, right?
yeah, sure. We have projects like Native that call my attention. I want to study more. If
Fission, for
lost,
example, is another one.
yes.
And nowadays we have a lot of solutions, no, that is intended to deliver container and running on Kubernetes. For example, if you look at some function solutions that have nowadays, for example, Fission is one of them. We have a lot of solutions that is intended to serve, for example, just a piece of code, no, like Lambdas, but for containers, using solutions like Native, Fissions, and others, It's something that we have reading some articles, and the number of solutions containerized offered by some platforms intended to run on Kubernetes, so increasing day after day. This is something very interesting that we have read in the last days.
I think it's only like a super interesting thing to see how it grows. But I think we will wrap it now. Like I like the prediction. Like I'm really looking forward also to see more like this, like serverless on top of Kubernetes. So Juliano, Marcelo, it's been a pleasure, and I wish you best of luck. Like in 3 years to finish the migration, or maybe even by the end of the year or next year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.